It's never a bad idea to study the greats. And in this video, what we're going to do is we're going to go over the 7 secrets behind Chick-fil-A's $50 billion empire. If you don't know what Chick-fil-A is, you'll learn in this video. It's probably one of the most incredible business stories out there. So I guarantee you that we're going to learn something from this. And this is actually a video by Alex Hormozi. Alex Hormozi, I mean, we haven't had an Alex Hormozi video that we've watched together in at least a couple weeks. That is way too long. This guy is an amazing teacher, an amazing entrepreneur, an amazing creator, honestly. So, I got to show you guys what's up over here and hopefully give some of my commentary here and add some stuff to it. Create a transformative piece. Let's get into it.
Chick-fil-A makes more money than McDonald's, Starbucks, and Subway combined.
Wait, that's actually insane. More than McDonald's, Subway, and Starbucks, which are all publicly traded companies, by the way, that all pay dividends. Chick-fil-A makes more than that. And that's basically with just the US. That's wild.
In their first day in business, they made $50. And today, they make over $5 billion.
So 50 to 50 billion. That's a wild story. $50 to 50 billion.
I love Chick-fil-A. I love their sandwiches, I love their desserts, I love their milkshakes, I love their waffle fries, I love their sauces, I love their tenders, but what I love even more than that is their business. Because there are lessons that all of us can take in terms of how they do business, not what they talk about socially, but the actual business of running a business and how you go from $50 to $5 billion, and I can promise you it's not by doing what everyone else does. And
okay, so that's lesson number 1 there. Is going from $50 to 50 billion. First things first, don't do what everyone else is doing. I like that a lot.
They did that without raising tons of debt. They did it over 76 years. They did it after the founder died and have continued to grow.
Okay, that's actually another thing to note. I'm not going to pause this as much as we go through this, but this happened over 76 years, okay? So all you people that are here to get rich quick, this isn't the video for you. But I do think that we'll be able to apply a lot of this stuff to our businesses, especially, I mean, at least that's how I feel. I'm trying to think in no short-sighted ways. I'm trying to only think long-term. So I want to see what we can get from this and see where we're at 5 years from now.
And they never had a down year where they went down in sales for 76 straight years. They sell 1/4 the amount of items of any other franchise. Subway has 7.5% net margins. Their royalty alone is 15% of top line, meaning their stores are running 20, 30+% margins in brick and mortar food. And they do that being open only 6 days a week, having 52 days a week that they are closed. Unlike any other franchise, no franchisee can own more than one location, unlike any other store. They get 60,000 applications a year and they only award less than 1% of those people a store. And they do it with arguably a very controversial social setting that would never work in a publicly traded corporate company that has to massage its PR. So here are the lessons that I take away from Chick-fil-A that I've tried to apply in as many different places in the portfolio companies that we own and even just at acquisition.com at the holding company. Number 1 is that they sold chicken sandwiches for 76 straight years and I don't think they're gonna stop. Having singular focus on the core products and not getting cute and not getting fancy and not having 49 menu items, but just saying what are the things that the most people want and how do I get better and better and better at doing those things? Because better gives you leverage. It means the same input gives you more output. Rather than having lots of different things that you have to put input in, you just put more and more and more because you only have so much juju. If you had 2 items, you can only split test them half as much as you could 1. For example, if you think about this like an Olympic runner, the difference between 1st place and 4th place in the Olympics is 1/10 of a second. But the difference between 1st and 4th for a person's life, massively different. We get these outsized returns by making these marginal improvements of being better rather than being new, despite our entrepreneurial desire to have not a chicken sandwich. We're like, what about tacos? What about burgers, right?
That's what Taco Bell is doing now. I just saw that they launched a wing option, like a wing menu, which is ridiculous for Taco Bell. So, this guy's right. Sometimes just having singular focus is much, much better because you can create a better product. I really like that. Actually, something I've learned recently, I tweeted about it. I was like, man, if you really want to create a great product, you have to create a great team. That's something I just wanted to drop in here.
Like, how many times could they have done something like that? But they did it because they knew that they wanted to stick to the essential few, and they knew that focus is what was going to compound over the long term. Despite being publicly criticized for not taking on debt and not trying to grow faster, for talking 5, 6, 7, 8 years, having somebody beat him. Boston Market, remember Boston Market, when they had their rotisserie chickens and the mac and cheese and all that stuff? They took on a ton of debt, grew super, super fast, and then imploded. Boston Market shot up and then shot down because he wasn't thinking on a 5 or a 10-year time horizon. Arie Kathy's literally sold chicken sandwiches from the time he was 25 till the day he died. He was a missionary, not a mercenary. He wasn't doing it to brag about his ego. He was doing it because he believed that this way of doing business was what he wanted to represent. I know that the likelihood that my competitors are going to be here in 70 years is almost zero. So if I build in a way that I'm going to be here in 70 years, I will win by default. And I think
that's such a powerful statement. Wow. That really, really got me. I mean, this is kind of what I was saying at the beginning of, I've been trying to think more and more long term, but that's such a good point. If you're thinking literally like 50 years down the line, or even let's say like 20 years, chances are your competitors aren't even going to be around. So you just win by default. That's so funny. My memory card died, but I'm back.
The fact that they don't let anyone have more than one store. I think there's a lot of wisdom to this. So there are lots of people like,
let me open 100.
And they're like, no, because you're not going to be able to focus. We want someone to put their heart and their soul into their location and treat it like it's their own. While he was alive, you have to have worked at a Chick-fil-A. I think they loosened that up because he wanted to create a way for people to come in, mopping floors, flipping burgers, going all the way up, and then eventually own their own franchise. And he has profit sharing. Now, mind you, he doesn't share the whole profit, but after he takes his pieces off, they have an ability to make more money. And having that kind of, I'll say, uncapped earning potential for somebody is very inspiring, but he keeps it constrained to a singular focus, because they know that somebody can give it their all at one location. They've already tested that. They've learned over the years, and I think there's a lot of wisdom
that
in that we can take from
very wise.
Number 4, saying no on Sundays means that you have to say no to things that are obviously going to make you money, but will detract from your values. And so there are lots of opportunities in entrepreneurship, and you probably have some on your docket right now that you're like,
I don't know, this is a little left of center, but like, it's such an easy win.
Imagine the new CEO comes into Chick-fil-A tomorrow and says, you know what? I found a way to make us 13% more sales and have most of that drop to bottom line. They're like, what's your amazing idea? And he's like, we're going to be open also on Sunday. It would be such an easy play, and imagine how hard it is to say no, because in the beginning, he had to say no to an extra 13% on a...
Yeah, so if you guys don't know, Chick-fil-A is always closed on Sunday, every single Sunday, and they've always done this. So this is what he's talking about.
$1 million, so it makes another $130,000. But when 13% is $650 million, and you still say no, it means that you're appealing to a higher power, something above the money. Values matter more than just about anything, in my opinion, if they are true to the founder, true to the business, and they operate in that way.
That's such a good point.
Chick-fil-A is a great example of a type of company that believes in its values through and through, and they practice what they preach, pun intended. Now, I also believe that appealing to something above the money, long, makes you more money. But you have to say no in the short to get the long yes. One of the things that permeates any Chick-fil-A, if you've ever been there, is that they have a culture of service.
You're one step away from an awesome lunch meal. It'll be a pleasure serving you at our drive-through window. After 2 more things, you know what that is. Please come eat. You guys are awesome. 1 and 2. You have an awesome day up ahead. Thank you. Chick-fil-A.
And so what they did was they actually studied the hospitality industry. And even
if you've never been to Chick-fil-A, you're missing out on some insane level of customer service. I will say that's probably one of the biggest appeals to Chick-fil-A.
Hired people from Ritz-Carlton to help them create an exquisite experience at Chick-fil-A. Arie Kathy noted that when he wanted everybody in his team and his company to start saying my pleasure, it didn't change until he changed how he spoke.
He's trained all of us to always respond to thank you by saying my pleasure. So if somebody wants a refill, my pleasure.
People will learn 10 times more from watching what you do than listening to what you say. And so if you say, hey, we're all about being on time here, but you, the CEO, are late, it will never work. We have to pick the very few values that we know that we will never break, that we will always stick with, which is why values have to be true to you, not nice words on the wall, because they have to be things that you would actually live. Otherwise, they're
That's so true.
If you want to have a business that grows even longer and bigger, you want to have a compounding vehicle built within the business. Chick-fil-A has a compounding vehicle of capital within their business. Whenever a store creates money, they have the cash and they can pick the next location. They buy the land and they buy everything itself too. So they get the highest return and they get some tax benefits. And so if there's ever areas in the business that we can get some kind of compounding effect where money compounds on itself, that is something that I always try and build in every business that I have, is how can I get this money that I'm getting today to make me even more tomorrow within the structure of the business, not taking the money out and putting it into stocks or putting it into just like a random fund or whatever it is, but actually saying within my business where I have active control, where I get the highest returns based on my skill and my competitive advantages, I get higher returns. And that's how these guys build crazy wealth that beats.
That's actually such a good point, and it's kind of how I interpret that is building an ecosystem, right? So that wherever you park your money, it's actually benefiting the business beyond just actual returns, but like within the business, if that makes sense. I've actually heard of this being the case with McDonald's as well, for example. They're not just a franchise business, they're also a real estate business because they own all of their locations basically, and that's a ton of real estate value. So that's what he's talking about.
Beats the market. Ruthless prioritization on the essential few items that they need to sell. The fact that they haven't changed their menu in decades should be a testament to the fact that we as entrepreneurs want to change shit all the time. There's a Henry Ford story that I think drives this home. He was looking at a marketing campaign and he had been working on it with his executives, etc. 3 or 4 months in, he walked past his marketing CMO's office and was like, hey, when are we gonna stop running that ad? He's like, I'm so tired of it. And the marketing executive looked up to him and he was like, you haven't even ran it yet. And so the thing is that we have all these things that happen in our mind because we're always iterating. Like we assume everyone knows everything about our products. We assume everyone's already bored of it because they're talking about chicken sandwiches 24 hours a day. But reality is that most people might get Chick-fil-A once a month, right? As a treat. The customer's perception, when we change something slowly in our mind every 6 months as a small business, to a customer, it just feels like it's constantly changing. There's no consistency. People value consistency. People want to know that when they exchange money, they're going to get the thing that they liked last time. And if you make the same thing the same way over and over again, it also gives you the opportunity to improve it. If you have to improve 100 things, it's a hell of a lot harder than improving 2.
So true.
1. And so you've heard me say 1 product, 1 avatar, 1 channel for anybody who's trying to make their first million. Each one of these stores, if you think about them as a single business, like that's how they're thinking. Now, do they have drinks? Yes, etc. The principle behind it compared to everyone else in the marketplace, they have 1/4 the amount of things on their menu compared to McDonald's, and they make twice the money. They have such a refined menu because it makes the order process have fewer mistakes in it. It makes the drive-through process happen faster. They're able to have less food go bad because they don't have to have all these extraneous options. They follow Pareto's principle of 80-20. They know that 20% of their stuff creates 80% of their sales.
I love that. That's like such a foundational piece of knowledge that's helped me, is just the 80-20 principle. Like 20% of the output brings 80% of the results, or at least focusing on the things that do that. For e-commerce, just to relate it to some of you guys, that would be, for example, like ads, right? Ads sometimes can do exactly that. They can take 20% of time, but bring in 80% of sales, right? So that's a huge lever. Obviously, another thing is just improving your product, like he's saying, like focusing on making sure that the product is the best that it can possibly be. That will bring in 80% of results because people will tell others about the product, they'll continue to shop your product, etc.
They have all of these efficiencies in there because they're not trying to be cute. They're trying to be the best at a handful of things, and by doing that, they've been able to sell way more than anyone else does with a way more constrained menu and do it so much more profitably. There's wisdom there. And so I try to think about that as like, okay, even though I could do those things, should I? And most times the answer is no. I should just get better at the thing that's in front of me and confront the problem that I have, which is how can I sell more chicken sandwiches, whatever your chicken sandwich is. And to drive even further on the focus they have, even at a micro level within their core product, the chicken sandwich, if you compare that to McDonald's Big Mac or Burger King's Whopper, McDonald's Big Mac has 6 ingredients. The Whopper has 7, not including the bun. Now compare that to Chick-fil-A's sandwich, which just has butter, pickles, and chicken. That's it. They even have half the ingredients on their 1/4 sized menu because even then they get more efficiencies at the ingredient level. They make it faster and easier to prepare so it's more consistent, and they're able to do that with greater economies of scale, and they can make the process itself leaner and faster and leaner and faster, and then you do that for 76 years and you become unbeatable. So one of the things that when they were asked, why are you so limited in your selection? Besides all the reasons I already gave, their response was that every time they added another item, they just saw their sales of their main thing decline. So they're just splitting some sales off their core products. And so how many of us have opened a new thing, gotten people to switch from the old thing to the new thing, and now you're doing two different things for the same amount of money?
Yeah.
Sound familiar? Happens all the time. And so it takes the discipline to say no and say, we're just gonna get better. The last piece that makes them exceptional, I think it was their VP of growth who was talking about this. He said, 80% of what fast food restaurants do between each other is the same. But I wasn't hired here to do the same thing that the other 80% are doing. I'm hired to do what the 20% are not doing. That much more efficiency has been driven into how can we improve this business? Because if we change nothing about this business, we sell the same 12 items, you just get better and better and better at the same thing. They even do practice runs in an indoor arena for the drive-through to test in real world scenarios to see how they can make the drive-through more efficient and increase the accuracy. That's the level of detail that the
amazing.
can do because they've been doing it for 70 plus years. The biggest takeaways I see from the big companies that I try to apply to my own business is, what is a business that I could be in for 100 years? I believe that if you only try and solve the same problem for 100 years, you get pretty darn good at solving it. After Kathy lived that, and then technically even died that, he took one concept, a chicken sandwich, and thought, how can I just do this one thing that everyone understands better than anyone else? And he built an empire, and he built a mission behind it that I think millions of people are happy and frequent every day. He has edged his way to now being number 3 and likely will become the second biggest food chain in the entire United States.
That's wild. I wonder what the first and second are. But that was an amazing video. I mean, this is why I do this, guys. That's why I like to show these to you. I mean, obviously this content's already out there, but I wanted to watch it myself. Also, selfishly, I hadn't watched that video yet. So, I decided to save it for the channel, but I'm very glad I did. I feel like I always learn some foundational pieces of wisdom about business from Alex Hormozi, probably because he also studies the greats. I feel like Alex Hormozi is really big on Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett, some of the best entrepreneurs in the world, basically. And he studies them in great detail. So then he's able to pass down that knowledge, and then we can study his knowledge and how he applies it to his business. And then I'm doing that to my business, and, we're just kind of, it's all interconnected in a weird way. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I love seeing you guys' comments, so please don't be shy to leave your comments in the description, okay? I know that you probably don't need to hear that, but just a subtle reminder. And obviously, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, just to continue to watch some of these videos. I'm trying to give you daily stuff here that will hopefully add something positive to your life. And that's about it. See you guys in the next video. Peace.